Latest weather forecast from the Met Office, and high pressure continues to dominate our weather pattern at the moment. Tonight it'll be mostly dry with some clear spells, but also a little bit of rain across the far northwest of the UK. Weather fronts nearby here, but high pressure generally holding on through the rest of the weekend into Bank Holiday Monday as well. It's been fairly cloudy across the UK today. It remains so this evening and overnight, but the cloud will break up at times to allow some clear spells. We could see some mist and fog patches developing across parts of England and Wales. A weather front will give some rain across Northern Ireland into western Scotland. Temperatures for most will remain in double figures. Could be a little chilly first thing across southwestern parts of the UK, but here any mist and fog patches soon clearing away. Across northern Scotland we've got a west-east split with the weather to start the day. Outbreaks of rain down the western side of Scotland. Some of this could be heavy at times, but sunshine in the east. Northern Ireland largely cloudy to start tomorrow morning, but should be largely dry here. And then across England and Wales, some mist and fog patches, some low cloud in places, perhaps thick enough for a little bit of light rain and drizzle, particularly along some eastern coasts. As we head through the day, it should be largely dry. There should be more in the way of sunny spells across England and Wales. The cloud will come and go at times, and Northern Ireland also brightening up with some sunny spells here. This weather front just lingers across western parts of Scotland, only pushing slowly further north and eastwards, but the rain's starting to ease on it. Temperature-wise, a little higher compared to today, reaching the mid-20s in places, so feeling a little warmer, particularly in that sunshine. And then for Bank Holiday Monday, southerly winds will draw in some warmer air. We should see more in the way of sunshine, particularly across central eastern areas. Cloud eventually picking up across the far west later on in the day, and temperatures well above average, 27, 28 Celsius, ahead of some cooler, wetter and windier weather starting to move in later on in the week. See you soon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christys tonight, and here We do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christys Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good evening. It's 9 p.m. I'm Ben Leo tonight.
Everyone that comes illegally will be deported. Full stop. End of story.
Cool, about time, wasn't it? As public anger against illegal migration continues to grow, Reform UK have called for mass deportations. Could this finally fix Britain's broken borders? Also tonight. Well, I'm certainly not going. With over 100 arrests before it's even begun and more than 7,000 police deployed after they warned of the potential for mass casualties, should this weekend's Notting Hill Carnival finally be banned? Plus,
I do think the police were dishonest in what they released and what they said about me, and I will be, holding them to account for that.
Yeah, there she is. Lucy Connelly suggests Sir Keir Starmer influenced the severity of her sentence. So should the Prime Minister be concerned by reports that she met lawyers linked to Donald Trump's White House earlier today? And
Sick of it. It's a frightening situation at the moment, and we want our country back. We want to know who's coming in, and we don't want people that are illegally here.
protests and counter-protests have sprung up all across Britain today as communities and councils turn against the use of migrant hotels. Is the patience of the British people reaching breaking point? I'm joined once again by my unbeatable Saturday night panel, the former Labour Party Special Advisor Paul Richards, the journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, and the former Scotland Yard detective Peter Blexley. And what do you reckon's going on here? Corruption? Never. And, by the way, breaking in the last 30 minutes or so, can you guess which Labour minister has just splurged £800,000, yes, 800k, on their third property? Unfortunately, it's not far from me on the South Coast. Good thing I'm going to the USA. Let's get your news headlines with Lewis McKenzie.
Thank you very much, Ben. Good evening. It's just after 9 o'clock. Here are your latest GB News headlines. Tensions were high as hundreds of protesters and counter-protesters gathered outside hotels housing asylum seekers all across the UK. Demonstrations were held in major towns and cities in England, including Bristol, Liverpool, Newcastle and central London. Protesters from the group Stand Up to Racism were also out and about. Nigel Farage has vowed that if he becomes Prime Minister, 5 deportation flights would leave the UK every day under plans to tackle illegal immigration. In an interview with The Times, the Reform UK leader says Britain is facing what he calls a massive crisis, and the only way forward is to detain and deport all migrants who arrive illegally. His plans would take Britain out of the European Convention of Human Rights and opt out of the UN Convention Against Torture and other international agreements. Ghislaine Maxwell has told US officials she never saw President Donald Trump act inappropriately. In an interview with the US Justice Department in July, the convicted sex trafficker said President Trump was, quote, always very cordial and very kind. Miss Maxwell, who is serving a 20-year prison sentence for helping Jeffrey Epstein sexually abuse underage girls, also denied any knowledge of a client list. She also added that she does not believe Epstein died by suicide. Staying stateside now, Lyle Menendez, the older of the notorious brothers who were jailed for murdering their parents in Los Angeles in 1989, has been denied parole. It comes a day after his brother Eric Menendez received the same ruling. The pair, now aged 57 and 54, were given life sentences without the chance of parole 30 years ago after killing their parents with a shotgun at their Beverly Hills home. They claim they acted in self-defense. And finally, one of the world's most active volcanoes has erupted again. Hawaii's Kilauea volcano started shooting arcs of lava 100 foot tall into the air early this morning. This marks Kilauea's 31st eruption since December. With the molten rock contained wholly within the summit's crater, it posed no threat to nearby homes. Well, those are your latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Lewis Mackenzie, and now it's back to Ben.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, very good evening to you. Hope you've had a good day. Now, if you thought Labour were already in a sticky position politically, down in the polls and their vote being split by Corbyn's new party, well, just wait until you hear what Reform UK have in store.
Everyone that comes illegally will be deported, full stop, end of story.
Yes, that's right. Something to celebrate on a Saturday night. Mass deportations. Asylum seekers detained on arrival to Britain, put in former military bases and then potentially packed off to British overseas territories such as Ascension Island in the South Atlantic. No right of appeal. Goodbye, see you later, off you pop. The NHS, HM Revenue and Customs and the DVLA will also be required to share data automatically so illegal migrants can be tracked down and arrested. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage there outlined the plans in an interview with The Times today, where he said the immigration crisis poses not just a national security threat, but leading to public anger that he said wasn't very far from disorder. Farage's plan will be revealed in a song and dance announcement on Tuesday, but it starts with leaving the ECHR, of course, and scrapping the Human Rights Act. Two tasks that I argue should be relatively easy to achieve. Reform would then introduce a British Bill of Rights before leaving the Refugee Convention, the UN Convention Against Torture and the Council of Europe's Anti-Trafficking Convention, all done under the banner of Britain facing a state of emergency. Reform's plan is called Operation Restoring Justice, and a Farage government would build detention centres capable of holding 24,000 people, prefab buildings with canteens and medical facilities on site. Crucially, and this is important when it comes to the context of hotels, no one would be allowed to leave. No asylum seekers from God knows where roaming the streets of British communities. Farage said in his interview with The Times, they have no right to claim asylum. They'd be arrested and detained. They'd be put into disused military bases. Don't tell me we can't put together facilities for people to stay, because we can. They would be treated with a degree of civility, of course. They're going to be fed and watered and looked after, given medical care if they need it. Reform would also be open to sending people to third countries, including, by the way, reviving the Tories' Rwanda plan and doing a deportation deal with the likes of Albania. And they reckon Britain would have 5 deportation flights a day, 5 a day, on RAF Voyager aircraft if necessary. And all this could be done now, of course. They could do it now. Labour could do it, Sir Keir Starmer could do it. It just needs political will. President Trump in the United States has proved that if you have conviction to stop illegal migration, you can eliminate the issue very, very swiftly indeed. He declared a national emergency, he deployed troops to the southern US border, and thousands of people had their sealed status rescinded while police detained others. The US has just enjoyed 0 illegal migrant releases into the US for the 3rd month running. So, as I've been saying for many weeks now, it's time to stop getting bogged down in argumentative detail about where to house illegal migrants, what benefits and what rights they should have, who pays for what and what level of hospitality we give them. The country's had enough, and with small boat crossings rocketing and gangs not being smashed, as Labour have promised, the pressure now is on Sir Keir Starmer to play his hand. The pot is massive. It's the keys to number 10. Does Starmer call Farage and match his ambition? Or maybe does he get brave and become a political chameleon once again and maybe raise him, go harder and faster to sort the problem out? Or, most likely, does the Prime Minister fold his hand completely by continuing on the same fruitless course and consign this Labour government to the dustbin of history? Well, I'm joined now by the director of the Afghan Human Rights Foundation, Mohammed Asif. Mohammed, good evening. Thanks for your company. What's your take on Reform's big plan set to be announced on Tuesday?
Yeah, good evening. I think it's just a dream like what Swala Braverman dreamt. And when, Nigel Farage wakes up the next day, there will be nothing, He won't be able to achieve anything. Britain is not a lawless country. It's not Afghanistan. It is not Iran or Saudi Arabia or Cuba. There is the rule of law, there are judges, there's the judiciary, and asylum is a fundamental human rights. Anyone who enters in Britain and apply for asylum under the Geneva Convention 1951, he or she is entitled to claim asylum. Whether you are accepted or not accepted, that's another story, but claiming asylum is not a crime. It's a right under the UN Charter.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the Geneva Convention, Mohammed, Reform would say that Article 32 allows, if the claim is, quote, manifestly unfounded, or the country, the government at the time says that there's going to be a national security threat or somebody's committed a serious crime, they can reject asylum, and also they can get by the Article 32 by sending them to third countries. In this case, Nigel Farage is saying send them to the likes of Rwanda if they revive the scheme, or even Ascension Islands. So the Geneva Convention wouldn't count, as far as we understand.
Unless Britain withdraws from the Geneva Convention, then they can do whatever they want to do.
You can't leave it.
No, until you are a signatory to the Geneva Convention, you can't do that, because asylum, as I said, is not a crime. And when you talk about security threat, people who come on dinghies on the back of the lorries, the security threat comes from the man in suit and tie, who are millionaire and billionaire, like what happened in 9/11 in the US, in the 7/7, and other bombings in Britain. These were not asylum seekers, these were not refugees. These were, millionaires supported by, quite well-off countries, and they carried out the atrocities. Someone who is seeking sanctuary, coming on the back of the dinghy is not a security threat. And I work with asylum seekers.
Some are, Mohammed, I'd argue.
No. Let me finish, if you don't mind. The Home Office have a kind of process, and I can show you the interviews transcript. They ask very, very detailed questions that what the person background is and where she or he comes from. When someone is a security threat, he or she is immediately arrested.
Well, that's not the case, Mohammed, because there was a lad, I forget the poor boy's name, I hope his family will forgive me. There was a lad down in Bournemouth who was murdered by a small boat arrival. The Home Office didn't realise he'd already murdered 2 people in Serbia, and on a night out, I think it was in Bournemouth, his name was Thomas, he went and murdered a British lad. There's also people, Mohammed, if you let me finish, there's also people who've been arrested, accused of sexual offences against children who were staying at the Epping Hotel in Essex. They've been accused, and they're going through the judicial process at the moment. There's been other people, there's been Iranians who came on small boats who have been arrested for plotting to blow up the Israeli embassy. So I'd argue they're security threats. Mohammed, no?
No. One or 2 or 3 out of 30,000 people.
One is too many, Mohammed. For the British people, one is too many. How many is acceptable?
I mean, currently there is legislation in this country. There is the judiciary, there is the police, there is the enforcement agencies, there is the tribunal, there is the courts. If someone commits a crime, whether it's a sexual offense or terrorist offense or whatever offense, he or she should be punished, according to the law. You cannot judge someone because looks like me or look like someone else, and then you say, all of you are terrorists and all of you are sex offenders.
It's nothing to do with how you look like, Mohammed.
We do have the statistics published by the Home Office or the British government itself, and it says, how many sex offenders or foreigners in how many
let's talk about that.
Indigenous people. Yeah, but the thing is, you cannot brush just because you find one asylum seeker or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10, and then you brush the entire community.
Mohammed, okay. I would argue one of those people is too many. Whether it's whether it's one British girl who's been subject of a rape at the hands of a small boat migrant, that's too many for British people, let me tell you now. And by the way, hang on a minute, let me finish, please, Mohammed. Let me finish. You want to talk about stats from the Home Office and the government? The Daily Telegraph did a quite in-depth piece the other week using MOJ data, FOI requests and so on, showing that Afghans and Eritreans in particular are 20 times more likely to commit sexual offences in this country than British people.
That's the Daily Mail and the Telegraph.
No, it's MOJ data, Mohammed. It's Ministry of Justice data.
It spoke volume when you quote Daily Mail and the Daily,
it was published. It was published in the Mail and the Telegraph. But it's MOJ. No, Mohammed. No. We're not moving on from this. No, we're not moving on.
When you
answer the question, Mohammed.
I'm telling you, as I say, Britain is not a lawless country. There is the rule of law. Anyone who commit, I said, if it's me, you, anyone else, he or she should be put behind bars, and that's the punishment. But you cannot just because he or she's from somewhere else and suddenly you brush everyone with the same brush.
No, nobody's brushing anyone with the same brush, but when we don't know who these people are, they come on small boats, they throw their passports into the channel, their mobile phones, they lie about their age. There's been many cases of 30-year-old blokes in... What do you mean, no? When you say no, what do you mean?
I tell you this.
It's been filmed, Mohammed.
There is the Home Office process. They ask like over 200 questions in their substantive interview.
Okay. Are you saying there's been no cases of people throwing... Well, no, because you're not answering my question, Mohammed. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude, but there's two questions you've not answered.
When an asylum seeker arrives in the UK, the phone is being seized by the Home Office.
No, they throw them in the channel.
No, they don't. And
Mohammed, there's footage online. This is are you going to deny that there's not been any one case of a migrant seen on film throwing their phones and mobiles into the channel?
There is always bad apples among the good ones.
Right. Okay.
But
there we go.
You cannot blame the entire community.
Nobody's doing that, Mohammed.
Because that's what you guys are doing. What Nigel Farage is doing. What Tommy Robinson is doing. What your channel is doing 24/7. Blaming everyone else for the failure of this government.
Yeah, it is. Look, I am the first person to blame governments of all colours for failed asylum immigration policy. If you watch my show regularly, which I'm sure you do, every week I'm on this Labour government.
No, currently the Home Office takes over 400 days. Over 400 days to process one simple asylum claim, either from... Yeah.
I have one last question, Mohammed.
Yeah.
I have one last question.
Yes,
Reform UK are leading in the polls by some way.
Yeah, but the elections are far ahead.
Hang on, can I just finish?
Yeah.
Can I just finish? Reform UK are leading by some way. We're seeing protests all across the country. People are sick and tired of not just illegal migration, by the way, now. They're sick of all migration. It's got to that point. What do you make of those genuine concerns from British people? Because it's not just me sitting here saying we need to stop illegal migration. We don't know who these people are. The British people are worried and concerned about this. What's your thoughts about the British people?
I mean, I understand, the worries, but the worries are the minority and led by racists and fascists in the front line. I know some of the racists and fascists in Scotland, who are leading the protests. I don't know in England, but I know in Scotland, the racists are at the front line. Those who are convicted for, domestic abuse, beating women, they're in the front line. But these are headlines that I said, what is his name? Nigel Farage. When he wakes up, this will be just a dream because there is the law in this country. There is the judiciary, there is the court. Nigel cannot just, take a stick and everybody, hit everyone else and say, go back. That's another.
Okay, Mohammed, before I let you go, do you care about the concerns of British people?
I do.
Right, why do you just brush them off as racist then?
What we want is, you see, what the government does here in the politician, the likes of Farage and others, they put communities against communities. Rather than we work together, end poverty and discrimination, unfair pay, come together, stand, together, a united community, a united kingdom, and stand together.
Yeah, it's all very good. It's all very reassuring words. Yeah, thoughts and prayers. I'll tell you what, Mohammed, look, respect you for coming on and appreciate it, but I respectfully say that you are behind the times. Nobody cares what skin colour you are, where you're from, unless we just don't know where you're from, quite frankly. You are behind the times, Mohammed. British people have had enough, and there's a reason Reform are leading in the polls.
I mean, the Reform is still like 3-4 years left for the election. I guarantee...
Well, good. Well, if that's all you can cling to, then...
Mark my words, when election comes,
Mohammed.
Reform will be way behind. I tell you this.
All right. Thank you, Mohammed Asif, Director of the Afghan Human Rights Foundation. Thank you. Have a good weekend. Right, let's get the thoughts of my panel. Former Labour Party Special Advisor Paul Richards, the journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, and the former Scotland Yard detective Peter Blexley. Oh, who to go to first? Peter Blexley looks like he's stewing. Peter.
You know what? These human rights people, whether they're members of organisations or they're human rights lawyers, never actually talk about responsibilities, do they? They talk about the rights of the people they represent, their rights to come here. And Mr Mohammed Asif seems to me like he'd quite happily transplant the entire population of Kabul into Britain if he was given half a chance. The one line from your monologue that was so powerful for me was the country's had enough. And that, in those simple few words, absolutely nails the position of so many people in the UK.
Yeah, even people, Linda, who weren't really engaged in news before or politics, didn't really have much time for who's running the government, and they suddenly wake up in Britain one day and they think, oh, hang on a minute, something's not quite right here.
And that's exactly right, because I would say for the last 3 or 4 years, we have been filling hotels with asylum seekers, particularly quite big hotels. The problem has come when you get these hotels like the Bell Hotel in Epping and like some of the hotels which I've actually visited, which are in small, quite put-together communities. Then there's a problem, because you can see, cheek by jowl, people who have an enormous difficulty in integrating with our culture and our values. Plus, we've seen an enormous growth in the number of people who come over on boats. And the problem there is, as you say, Ben, quite correctly, that they have chucked their documents away, so we don't know where they've come from, we don't know what their past is, and that is what has led to the concern, particularly amongst parents and young girls.
Paul, Reform UK, big announcement on Tuesday, mass deportations, detention centres, music to the ears of many of the electorate. Where do Labour go from here?
Well, there's an interesting story in the Sunday Times tomorrow where Keir Starmer's going to announce that judges' power to delay asylum cases are going to be taken away, and there's going to be these fast-track tribunals which will speed up that process.
But they're just going to be approved, aren't they?
As what?
They're just going to be approved. That's how they'll deal with it. So, you can come in, and you go.
I don't think so. I think the point is this is a deliberate attempt to get people out of the country that shouldn't be here in the first place. On the reform plan, I mean, it's unravelling already. He hasn't even announced it yet. He's saying start a detention camp on Ascension Island. 800 people live on Ascension Island, and there are 17 RAF personnel. So what are they going to do with 5,000, 10,000 people?
No, I think the detention camps were here in the UK.
He's saying deport people to Ascension Island. You said it in your monologue. You didn't mention, however, he wants to do a deal with Iran.
Yes, he said hopefully deals with Iran, with Iraq, to get these people...
The Ayatollahs. He wants the British government to do a deal with the Ayatollahs.
Well, I wouldn't care dealing with Iran. Just send these people back. Why should... Hang on a minute, Paul. Why should anyone care that we do a deal with Iran if they're taking back their people?
Genocidal lunatic regime, that's why. And they're our enemy, and they're funding all the people that are trying to blow up the Middle East.
Exactly. All the more reason not to have Iranians coming here.
Deal with them.
Precisely, because we don't want genocidal people coming to this country.
He's also announced this massive constitutional upheaval, which I think if people look at what that means, a British Bill of Rights and a sort of tearing up our ancient constitution, introducing all kinds of things alien to our constitution, like sort of written documents and so on, which I just think is balmy. And it's very weird that Reform are now the major constitutional reformers, because normally that's the Lib Dem nonsense, isn't it? But this is what he's proposing. A major constitutional...
All of which is a response to your lamentable government letting thousands of people into this country every week illegally, and you're doing nothing about it. You're doing the previous lot as well, but you're doing nothing about it.
It's successive governments.
Can I just on that very point? Interesting. I think it's generic. It may be Phil, but I think it's generic. There's a video of him doing the rounds as a minister, announcing all the new hotels and saying what a great job he was doing of opening up more hotels and taking credit for it.
People didn't notice. Can I just say, people didn't notice this at first, and my family, who come from the western side of London, there were huge hotels. For example, a hotel where I did my sixth form dinner dance when I was just a teenager, the hotel where I was a bridesmaid at my aunt's wedding. They are now still full of asylum seekers, and we've let it go unnoticed. And then one day a family member said to me, "You can pick them out, Linda. It's the ones with the barbed wire curled over the perimeter fence of the hotel. They are asylum seekers."
You call them asylum seekers, I call them what they are, illegal migrants.
Well, I don't care what you call them. I'm saying it's an unsustainable system.
We must close the hotels. We're all agreed on that.
Absolutely.
No, we must stop these people coming into the country.
We need to move on. You say close the hotels. They're going into HMOs, into street up and down the country that will be even worse for the people of Britain. I'll tell you what we need to do is stop them coming in the country in the first place, which I guess is what Reform is arguing to do. Right, a bit of a gear change. Time now for the Great British Giveaway. Your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for a year and grab £5 grand cash, or if you haven't got a mortgage or rent, 15k tax-free cash lump sum in your back pocket. Make sure you don't miss out. Here's all the details you need.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you, we'll give you £15,000 tax-free cash instead. Hurry, lines close this Friday. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, very good luck. Plenty more coming up on tonight's show, including... Yeah, that looks a right laugh, doesn't it? Can't wait to go down to Notting Hill Carnival this weekend. It's going to be great. Over 100 arrests before it's even begun, and more than 7,000 police deployed after they warned of the potential for mass casualties. I told you it sounds fun. Should this weekend's Notting Hill Carnival be banned? That's next on Ben Leo Tonight. Back in just a tick.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewbs, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Hello, welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Now, an expected 2 million people will descend on West London over this bank holiday weekend for Notting Hill Carnival. It's an event that's been, once again, marred in controversy the year before it's even begun, because the Met Police has admitted that it's preparing for a, quote, deadly crowd crush that could cause mass casualties. And this follows pre-carnival operations earlier this week in which more than 100 people were arrested. 11 firearms and more than 40 bladed weapons were recovered. Over 7,000 officers will be deployed over this weekend, with reports many fear being attacked, as last year there were 53 assaults on emergency workers. Last year there were also 8 reported stabbings, 1 man was beaten to death, and a young mother was killed by a man brandishing a zombie knife in an unprovoked attack on the so-called family day of the carnival. Her parents have spoken out, that poor lady who died, ahead of this year's event, calling it unmanageable and unsafe. So the big question is it time that we ban the event from ever going ahead again? Well, I'm joined now in the studio by broadcaster Rafe Haydel-Mancu and the former chair of Haringey Independent Stop and Search Monitoring Group, Ken Hines. Good evening, chaps. Nice to see you both in the studio. Ken, I like your attire. A nod to this weekend's festivities?
Absolutely. I'm getting ready to get in, back in touch with my ancestors. Once a year, it's a deep attachment I have, and Notting Hill Carnival seems to be where the roots are. OK. I appreciate that. I feel you. However, there was big concern about the carnival. 2 people died last year, arrests, guns, all sorts going on. What do you make of the calls for the carnival to be banned? First of all, my deepest condolence goes out to the people who have been lost their lives and those who have come across injuries through to the carnival. But to say and to stop something that's got such deep roots in Notting Hill, in a sense, and for me, it goes further back. It's a connection between my Caribbean roots and African roots. That's what the carnival envisages. And carnival, what makes carnival different is not in a field. It goes in the streets, around the streets. It can be, and it should be, better organised. My thing is that for far too long, we've had weak leadership. OK. And it's been the key of the problem that Carnival is now facing. Rafe, is it not the case that if this were a annual sort of, I don't know, anti-illegal migration protest, or even a football gathering where people were getting knifed every other year and people were dying and there was, 7,000 coppers on the streets, I think it cost something like £12 million to police last year, it would be scrapped straight away, wouldn't it? Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah, I'm afraid this is just another example of two-tier policing, actually, because it's, well, for example, did you know last year at the Notting Hill Carnival, more police were assaulted and injured there than in the Southport protests? But, of course, the authorities were very quick to condemn utterly the Southport protest, whilst consistently, downplaying and ignoring the violence at Notting Hill. And, of course, yeah, you're quite right. If the same things happened at an annual St George's Day parade or an annual sporting fixture, the same level of violence, criminality, shooting, sexual assaults, murders, overcrowding, they would quite rightly be banned. The reason it's not is because, the Notting Hill Carnival has become a sacred festival in the Church of Diversity, which is, the new state religion, and has got the status now of a holy weekend, and it's being used to perpetuate this myth that diversity built Britain, that multiculturalism is a huge success story. I'm afraid that's not the case. People that I know that live in the area call it the Notting Hill Carnival, and, in Florida, people board up their houses, they board up their shops, and they flee their homes when there's a hurricane arriving. People do that in Notting Hill when it's the carnival arriving, which I think speaks volumes about it. Personally, as I said, the people who brought in those big houses in Notting Hill brought it in with the condition to know that festival happened annually. So if they're now crying foul, that's shame on them, because they should do their due diligence before they actually brought those houses. Hang on a minute, shame on the homeowners for not wanting people to be knifed outside their front doors. There's nothing. Yes, it hurts me when it turns around, and because we've got weak leadership, we then turn and hit the beautiful culture that Carnival emanates. To say that, yes,
one death is one death too many. But personally, I believe that if it was to have more community accountability, it would be a lot safer, and we can do our work with those young people who come with the wrong mentality.
Ken, so there were 12 stabbings in 2017, 7 in 2018, 18 in 2019, 7 in 2022, 10 in 23. 2 people died last year. Where does this end? How many stabbings are acceptable?
All unacceptable.
So where does it end?
All unacceptable, and from where I'm sitting, is preventable. Okay. You cannot You cannot police your way out of this. 7,000 police but yes, we need some police, but that's a waste of public money to put 7,000 police into the car.
Last word, Ray.
It's a red letter day for other criminals. In East London, North London, South London, they can do what they want, knowing that all the police are going to be in West London. The perfect comparison is with another similar large event, like, for example, the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Same number of people attending over a similar weekend. The Notting Hill Carnival is 35 times more violent, more dangerous. There were over 350 arrests at the Notting Hill Carnival versus 10 at the Platinum Jubilee. There's a very clear issue with the Notting Hill Carnival, let alone the fact that the police think there's going to be a genuine...
Glastonbury.
There's a genuine risk of there being a multi-casualty event due to overcrowding.
That's why, Ken, really quickly.
It's comparable to Glastonbury and other big events.
There's no machete fights at Glastonbury. There are no stabbings at Glastonbury. Those are low-level crimes.
As I said to you, at the end of the day, we should concentrate on 2 million people coming in. The vast majority is going away with good experience.
In Hyde Park, maybe.
Great. Ken, enjoy yourself this weekend. Hope you stay safe. Someone argued that it needs to be moved, if not cancelled. But appreciate you coming on. Thank you, Rafe, as well. Rafe Hedel, Manku. Right, let us know what you think on that. gbnews.com/your say. Will you be going down to the Carnival this weekend? Coming up next on tonight's show.
I do think the police were dishonest in what they released and what they said about me, and I will be, holding them to account for that.
I just wonder if Lucy Connelly, who is now finally free, of course, she says she believes she was held as Keir Starmer's political prisoner, should Keir Starmer now be very, very concerned that she's in touch with lawyers from President Trump's administration in the US? More on that in just a tick.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's a bit of a mixed bag across Europe as we go through the next few days. There is some rain pushing into parts of Portugal, also affecting southwestern Spain as we go into tomorrow, but most of Spain actually having a largely fine day. A few showery outbreaks affecting parts of Italy, Greece and maybe Turkey too, but these won't be as heavy nor as thundery as we've seen recently. And then through into next week, whilst most places will stay largely fine, across some areas, France, Germany for example, the risk of some heavy thundery downpour.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest weather forecast from the Met Office, and high pressure continues to dominate our weather pattern at the moment. Tonight it'll be mostly dry with some clear spells, but also a little bit of rain across the far northwest of the UK. Weather fronts nearby here, but high pressure generally holding on through the rest of the weekend into Bank Holiday Monday as well. It's been fairly cloudy across the UK today. It remains so this evening and overnight, but the cloud will break up at times to allow some clear spells. We could see some mist and fog patches developing across parts of England and Wales. A weather front will give some rain across Northern Ireland into western Scotland. Temperatures for most will remain in double figures. Could be a little chilly first thing across southwestern parts of the UK, but here any mist and fog patches soon clearing away. Across northern Scotland we've got a westy split with the weather to start the day. Outbreaks of rain down the western side of Scotland. Some of this could be heavy at times, but sunshine in the east. Northern Ireland largely cloudy to start tomorrow morning, but should be largely dry here. And then across England and Wales, some mist and fog patches, some low cloud in places, perhaps thick enough for a little bit of light rain and drizzle, particularly along some eastern coasts. As we head through the day, it should be largely dry. There should be more in the way of sunny spells across England and Wales. The cloud will come and go at times, and Northern Ireland also brightening up with some sunny spells here. This weather front just lingers across western parts of Scotland, only pushing slowly further north and eastwards, but the rain's starting to ease on it. Temperature-wise, a little higher compared to today, reaching the mid-20s in places, so feeling a little warmer, particularly in that sunshine. And then for Bank Holiday Monday, southerly winds will draw in some warmer air. We should see more in the way of sunshine, particularly across central eastern areas. Cloud eventually picking up across the far west later on in the day, and temperatures well above average, 27, 28 Celsius, ahead of some cooler, wetter and windier weather starting to move in later on in the week. See you soon.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Now, Lucy Connelly is finally free and back together with her family, and about time too. She was, of course, sentenced to a custodial stretch for posting a tweet mentioning the burning down of migrant hotels at the height of last summer's public backlash against the Southport murders. And in her first interview with the Daily Telegraph last night, Lucy suggested the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, had influenced the severity of her sentence.
Lucy, do you think Keir Starmer influenced the way you and others were treated by the criminal justice system?
100%, yes. He'd already, when he made his speech in the beginning, this was before I was even arrested, I thought it was very divisive. It was very much, oh, well, if you're bothered about children being murdered, you're a right wing, you're far right.
Well, latest updates today suggest that Lucy met with lawyers and officials from President Donald Trump's administration in the United States earlier today to discuss concerns over free speech in Britain. And, more concerningly for the Prime Minister, just an hour or two ago, the Daily Telegraph reported that Nigel Farage will raise Connelly's case with key Trump allies when he gives evidence at a free speech hearing in the States next month. Well, I'm joined now by media lawyer Jonathan Code on this. Jonathan, good evening. Thanks for your company. Concerning for the Prime Minister that Lucy Connelly seems to be meeting with Trump officials, and indeed that Nigel Farage will be speaking, I think, in Congress in the next couple of weeks on this precise issue.
Well, I don't know how concerned he'll be. I mean, he and Donald Trump don't seem to be best friends, and I'm not sure that it's right to say that Keir Starmer influenced the criminal justice system. At least in theory, the criminal justice system is meant to be entirely independent from government. But on the whole, I think it is. And I was looking at what Robert Jenrick said. You'll remember the Robert Jenrick saying that he was worried about his children being near migrant hotels. Well, Robert Jenrick is the Shadow Justice Secretary. I think if Keir Starmer was really on some kind of political mission, he might have tried to persuade the CPS to prosecute him. But we'll see what happens in the US.
So you don't think Sir Keir Starmer will manoeuvre against this, be concerned about it? I mean, it seems pretty... I mean, there is this general feeling now, there's this momentum that what happens in the United States, particularly with J.D. Vance and the President and his administration, is now influencing policy here in the UK. We saw it with J.D. Vance recently when he came to the Cotswolds for his holiday. The government U-turned on the Apple encryption situation. So that's just one small example.
Well, I don't know whether the problems that Keir Starmer has on his plate generally are going to be added to significantly by the fact that J.D. Vance or Donald Trump complains about a lack of free speech in the UK. It seems to me that with all that there is, all the problems around illegal asylum seekers, riots around hotels and so on and so forth, I would have thought that's a bigger fish for Sir Keir Starmer than perhaps being criticised from the other side of the Atlantic when Donald Trump certainly does some things which certainly the British may think ill of, and if Keir Starmer occasionally falls foul of them, I'm not sure he's going to lose much sleep about it.
OK, Jonathan, thank you very much. Appreciate your company. Have a good weekend. Let's get the thoughts of my panel, the former Labour Party Special Advisor Paul Richards, journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee and the former Met detective Peter Blexley. Paul, are you not concerned as a Labour man about the sort of growing influence of the US? Nigel Farage is going there to make the case for free speech or a lack of in Britain.
I'm deeply concerned because we're not an American colony. We're not the 51st state. We are an independent nation with our own judicial system and our own democracy, and the Americans need to butt out.
You're worried because your government's toilet. That's why you're worried. And you're making mistakes at every corner. And the public have just about had enough. You were only elected as a result of a protest vote to get the lamentable Tories out. Now you're in power. Everybody, unbelievably, is now confronted with an even worse government. And that is saying something. So, however long you're going to drag this shambles out for, you won't get re-elected. The writing's on the wall. You're utterly abysmal, and you've got another enemy now.
To the point.
You've got another enemy now, because Lucy Connelly seems to be a very spirited woman, and she shows no signs of going away.
Paul?
Well, Lucy Connelly is obviously a political activist, and she's got links to the Trump regime. We know that, and she's somebody.
Oh, not before she was banged up for 2.5 years. Well, sentenced to.
I think there was a string of tweets that suggest otherwise, and then she did plead guilty. Let's not forget to the charge to which she was put, and that's why she served partially her sentence. But she is now a political figure in her own right.
Who's turned her into a political figure?
She was already a political.
She was an unknown housewife.
She was not an unknown housewife.
Hang on, Paul. Hang on.
No, she was.
She had 300,000 followers on Twitter.
No, she didn't. It got through. No. See, Paul, yet again, I have to correct you on facts, right? Her posting on social media got 300,000 views. She did not have anywhere near 300,000 followers.
Married to a conservative.
Yet another correction.
Not make her a media figure. The fact of the matter is she's been below the radar until this has happened. Now she is a media figure. I mean, I wonder, actually, I fear for her because the eyes of the world, literally, internationally, are upon her right now. She has to be very, very careful with how she moves forward. Nevertheless, I watched the interview, soup to nuts, Peter, just as you did. I'm sure you did as well, Paul. And actually, she is a very, very credible figure. That is the issue for Keir Starmer. And actually, can I just say, towards the end of the interview, when she talks about being moved from one block to another, when she's actually held down by police, I think there's a term they use inside jail for that, I'm thinking, how is Keir Starmer going to recover from this? She was actually physically injured.
He didn't do it.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't matter. Heavy the head that wears a crown.
OK, we've got to move on. Thank you very much for that. I'd argue, Linda, she doesn't need to be careful. She just needs to be honest, which she has been, and truthful about her experience, and that will be enough. People will see through it. Coming up, with dozens of protests planned all across the country, more and more local councils are now pushing back against migrant hotels in their communities. We speak to one of those councillors next. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here.
I'm Michelle Jubes, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GBNews family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo's Tonight. Now, following a temporary injunction granted to stop asylum seekers from living at the Bell Hotel in Epping in Essex, ministers are now bracing themselves for legal challenges all up and down the country, either in Labour-run authorities. Swindon Conservatives, no least, have asked the Borough Council for a full review into the planning permission for housing migrants in their town, encouraged by party leader Kemi Badenoch. And some councillors in Swindon have said they were accused of racism for raising the issue. Well, joining me now is Swindon Conservative Councillor and Opposition Deputy Leader Dale Heenan. Dale, good evening. Tell us then, in Swindon, how many migrant hotels have you got? And also, Dale, I'm keen to know how many HMOs you've got in Swindon, asylum HMOs, particularly if you know.
So we believe there's 2 hotels in the town, but it's very much kept secret, and we haven't seen the protests that elsewhere in the country have had.
Hang on, you don't even know as a councillor? You believe? Why don't you know?
Because we ourselves don't get given the full facts and information when questions are asked. We have not been received clear responses about how much council tax money is spent on asylum seekers and refugees. And we've got this on the public record over the last 6 months.
So hang on, Dale, you're the Deputy Opposition Leader at Swindon Council? Yes?
Yes.
And you don't even know, you're not privy to how many asylum hotels are operating in your area or how much money is being spent on them?
The Home Office has not contacted us. The council is quite difficult to give us straight answers on these things. It's one of the reasons we've been putting forward council motions, public questions, to try and tease this out. And as you've quite rightly said, when we ask these questions of the public, the Labour councillors call it racist. It's a dog whistle to the far right. It's a toxic environment, and it doesn't help anybody try and really get to the root cause of these problems.
I just find it absurd that, I'm not saying it's your fault, but I find it absurd that you have an opposition on a council who doesn't know how many asylum hotels there are, how much the council is spending. I mean, what have Labour said, the Labour-led council, what have they said in Swindon about this?
Well, we've written to the Chief Executive of Swindon Council saying that they should do a full review of hotels, because the interesting thing about Epping Forest this week was it's a breach of planning rules. And if you or I did this, we would have the book thrown at us. So it's quite right that councils across the country kind of challenge the situation. The problem is that Swindon Council simply cannot afford what is going on, because 2 days before Christmas, they wrote to the government and said, give us 15 million of exceptional financial support or we're bankrupt. So these are serious issues that we're trying to deal with, and it is falling on local residents to pay for the problems through council tax.
Why is Swindon close to going bankrupt, Dale? What are they splurging their money on?
Oh, a whole variety of things, but spending's up over 50 million in the last 2 years they've been running the council. They want to spend £160,000 on converting council vehicles to run vegetable oil. It's really quite bonkers, some of the stuff that we are calling out and going, you're mad. And they're still going ahead, proudly going forward, and they're not living within their means. And that's some of the things that we're kind of challenging and putting forward.
Right, OK. And just finally, very quickly, HMOs. Are you concerned about the rise of HMOs, houses of multiple occupancy, if viewers aren't aware? Because the Labour government is just going to send people from these hotels into HMOs all up and down the country, and I argue it's the next ticking time bomb.
I agree with you, and that's why council should also be looking at article directions to remove these aspects and to increase licensing rules around it. There are not enough houses being built in this country for local residents to move into. The last thing we need is another 100,000 people claiming asylum and then them being put into their homes because the government's been buying them up.
OK, Dale, thank you for your company. I'm still pretty stunned that, again, not your fault, but the opposition in Swindon doesn't know how many asylum hotels there are or what it's costing the taxpayer. I think is absolutely absurd. But Dale, thank you for your company. Appreciate it. Dale Heenan, who is the opposition deputy leader at Swindon Council. I mean, that's just nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, just to pick up on that point, that is what really worries me. You've illustrated that point that he doesn't know, you know, that how many asylum hotels there are. I saw an MP on TV the other night. She didn't know once the hotel was closed where they gone.
What a racket! What a racket! Right, coming up, as Labour prepares to tax your family to high heaven, guess which Labour MP, minister no less, has just spent £800,000 on their third home. Back in just a tick.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest weather forecast from the Met Office, and high pressure continues to dominate our weather pattern at the moment. Tonight it'll be mostly dry with some clear spells, but also a little bit of rain across the far northwest of the UK. Weather fronts nearby here, but high pressure generally holding on through the rest of the weekend into Bank Holiday Monday as well. It's been fairly cloudy across the UK today. It remains so this evening and overnight, but the cloud will break up at times to allow some clear spells. We could see some mist and fog patches developing across parts of England and Wales. A weather front will give some rain across Northern Ireland into western Scotland. Temperatures for most will remain in double figures. Could be a little chilly first thing across southwestern parts of the UK, but here any mist and fog patches soon clearing away. Across northern Scotland we've got a west-east split with the weather to start the day. Outbreaks of rain down the western side of Scotland. Some of this could be heavy at times, but sunshine in the east. Northern Ireland largely cloudy to start tomorrow morning, but should be largely dry here. And then across England and Wales, the mist and fog patches. Some low cloud in places, perhaps thick enough for a little bit of light rain and drizzle, particularly along some eastern coasts. As we head through the day, it should be largely dry. There should be more in the way of sunny spells across England and Wales. The cloud will come and go at times, and Northern Ireland also brightening up with some sunny spells here. This weather front just lingers across western parts of Scotland, only pushing slowly further north and eastwards, but the rain's starting to ease on it. Temperature-wise, a little higher compared to today, reaching the mid-20s in places, so feeling a little warmer, particularly in that sunshine. And then for Bank Holiday Monday, southerly winds will draw in some warmer air. We should see more in the way of sunshine, particularly across central eastern areas. Cloud eventually picking up across the far west later on in the day, and temperatures well above average, 27, 28 Celsius, ahead of some cooler, wetter and windier weather starting to move in later on in the week. See you soon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
It's Patrick Christys tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Hello, very good evening. It's 10 p.m. I'm Ben Leo, and breaking tonight. It's a nice life for some, isn't it? Angela Rayner splashes out on a third property, costing £800,000 on a salary, by the way, of around 150k. Don't know how that works out, but that won't stop Labour from looking to tax you and your family home. Elsewhere, talking of Labour, Rachel Reeves risks sending the economy back to the 70s as economists warn we're heading towards an IMF bailout. Very good. The Prime Minister, meanwhile, is prepping to curb the power of judges in asylum cases in fast-tracking the backlog. And the BBC, it seems like I say this week after week, hit by another scandal. A Strictly star is arrested on suspicion of rape in another blow for the show. Of course, I'm joined by the Saturday night panel, former Labour Party Special Advisor Paul Richards, the journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, and the former Scotland Yard detective Peter Blexley. And what do you reckon's going on here? And I just can't get over this front page in The Sun and the Mail. Angela Rayner, Deputy Prime Minister, her third home by the seaside, near me, by the way, £800,000. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. First, let's get your news headlines with Lewis Mackenzie.
Thank you very much, Ben. Good evening. It's just after 10 o'clock. Here are your latest GB News headlines. Let's get some more on that breaking story now. The Metropolitan Police have confirmed a Strictly Come Dancing star has been arrested on suspicion of rape. An investigation has been launched into the dancing contest, with police also receiving allegations involving non-consensual intimate image abuse. A BBC spokesman said it would not be appropriate to comment on an ongoing police investigation at this time. We'll be bringing you more as we have it here on GB News. Nigel Farage has vowed that if he becomes Prime Minister, 5 deportation flights would leave the UK every day under plans to tackle illegal immigration. In an interview with The Times, the Reform UK leader says Britain is facing what he calls a massive crisis, and the only way forward is to detain and deport all migrants who arrive illegally. His plan would take Britain out of the European Convention on Human Rights and opt out of the UN Convention Against Torture and other international agreements. Tensions were high today as hundreds of protesters and counter-protesters gathered outside hotels housing asylum seekers all across the UK. Demonstrations were held in major towns and cities in England, including Bristol, Liverpool, Newcastle and central London. Protesters with the group Stand Up to Racism were also out in force. And as you've just been hearing, Angela Rayner has come under fire for reportedly buying a third home worth around £800,000. The Sun on Sunday say the Deputy PM, who is also the Housing Secretary, bought a flat near Brighton despite owning a home in Ashton-under-Lyme and having a ministerial apartment in Westminster. It comes as Miss Rayner's department has started levying an extra 100% council tax charge on second homes. The Shadow Homing Secretary, James Cleverly, says she is responsible for housing policy, yet won't even be straight about her own. Crossing stateside now, Ghislaine Maxwell has told US officials she never saw President Donald Trump act inappropriately. In an interview with the US Justice Department in July, the convicted sex trafficker said President Trump was, quote, always very cordial and very kind. Miss Maxwell, who is serving a 20-year prison sentence for helping Jeffrey Epstein sexually abuse underage girls, also denied any knowledge of a client list. She added that she does not believe Epstein died by suicide. Lyle Menendez, the older of the notorious brothers who were jailed for murdering their parents in Los Angeles in 1989, has been denied parole. It comes a day after his brother Eric Menendez received the same ruling. The pair, now aged 57 and 54, were given life sentences without chance of parole 30 years ago after killing their parents with a shotgun at their Beverly Hills home. They claim they acted in self-defense. And last story here, one of the world's most active volcanoes has begun erupting again. Hawaii's Kilauea volcano started shooting arcs of lava 100 foot into the air early this morning. This marks Kilauea's 31st eruption since December, with the molten rock contained solely within the summit crater, posing no threat to nearby homes. Fiery pictures there, but now back to some fiery debate with Ben Leo.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Welcome to Ben Leo Tonight. It's 10 o'clock and the first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages have just dropped, and I have to say there are some bombshells, some Bobby Belters, as they say, starting with the Sun on Sunday. And here it is, brace yourselves, 3 pads Rayner. We had 3 Jags Prescott back in the day, it's now 3 pads Rayner. The Deputy Prime Minister buys her third home for more than £700,000. It's a nice little flat down in Hove in East Sussex, near me, so I'd argue that, thank goodness I'm moving to the United States to be away from her. But yeah, a third pad for Angela Rayner. The Mail on Sunday leads with the same story. They reckon it cost £800,000. I guess maybe they're including stamp duty and whatever else. The headline reads, as Labour turns screws on second homeowners pricing locals out of housing, the Deputy PM buys a swanky seaside pad. And just up the top there, an extract from the Royal Book, a new Royal Book, what the Queen really thought of Donald Trump. The Independent, rapist nurse was allowed to carry on working for a year. The scandal hit Nursing and Midwifery Council. The industry's regulator took no action against the nurse who was a rapist. The Sunday Express, border farce, outrage at bonus payouts, shocking figures revealed as a record 110,000 claim asylum in just 1 year. This is big bonuses being paid to border force, despite the border being very leaky indeed. And the Sunday Telegraph, another good story, maybe a concern for Labour types. Rachel Reeves heading for IMF bailout. Economists warn of 70s-style debt crisis unless the Chancellor changes course. A winter fuel cut will hit 600,000 disabled pensioners elsewhere. And just down the bottom there, something we've already briefly discussed in the first hour. Nigel Farage will be taking Lucy Connelly's case to Congress in the next couple of weeks. He'll be going directly to the United States to talk about Lucy Connelly, free speech, the accusation she was a political prisoner. Lucy Connelly won't be there because she's can't travel due to her bail conditions or licence conditions. But yeah, very interested indeed. Welcome back to my panel. Former Labour Party Special Advisor Paul Richards, the journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, and the former Scotland Yard detective Peter Blexley. Paul. Angela Rayner. Let's look at the front page of The Sun. 3 pads Rayner. An £800,000 seaside pad, all right for some.
I think Angela Rayner is a breath of fresh air in government because she is a working-class woman with, you know, no formal education, worked her way up as a care assistant, a trade unionist, and is now our Deputy Prime Minister, a job which, by the way, comes with a free house. So one of these 3 pads is the Grace and Favour home in Admiralty House, which every Deputy Prime Minister gets, Tory or Labour. The other is in her constituency, which is we expect from our MPs. And the third one is this new one she's bought down in the South Coast. And what a beautiful part of the world. Good luck to her.
Yep, it is beautiful.
But it looks bad.
Yeah, it does look bad. Nice flat, but the optics are bad.
It's really bad.
And it's with a mortgage. I mean, it's not like it's some sort of... She hasn't been gifted it by some oligarch. It's just
Do you know that for a fact she's got a mortgage?
According to the Mail on Sunday and The Sun, it was bought... It doesn't say how much the mortgage was, but with a 6-figure mortgage. And, by the way, she is on a salary of around 150k.
The job pays well, yeah.
So the multiplier is, what, 5 times, 150,000.
She might have leveraged money from her previous house, you know.
She could have borrowed 750 grand, so we don't know what her deposit was. She might have had a whopping mortgage.
But I think... what's wrong with any of that? But the point here is, it looks bad. There's the optics of this situation. It just shows such a surprising lack of judgment in one of the key figures in this government.
I think she probably doesn't care. She probably just thinks, well,
I think there's a lot of other things she doesn't care about. I'm saving up to be a socialist, because they've all got loads of money, haven't they? They've got plenty of money, and they love giving ours away, don't they? To undeserving...
I think the fact that she doesn't care is just as bad, if not... Well, it's not refreshing
It's like the DJing or going on holiday or, you know, wearing a dry robe, you know...
It's not refreshing. People who are senior, people who are public servants, they actually should care about what people think of them.
Should they live in a box and wear sackcloth and ashes?
That's not the same thing.
You know,
caring about what other people think and respecting what other people might think of you, I think it's important.
Paul, last year, yeah, good point, Linda, I agree. Last year, Angela Rayner said, before Labour were elected, she said every borough of Britain should be taking its fair share of illegal migrants. So I went to Bolton last week, loads of HMOs up there with asylum seekers. There's HMOs popping up here, there and everywhere. Angela Rayner now has 3 houses, or 3 properties at least. How many illegal migrants is she going to be taking?
Well, I say again, she hasn't got 3 properties.
She's got 3 properties.
She's got a house in the constituency.
1.
Right, she lives in London when she's being the Deputy Prime Minister in a house that we own, the state owns.
Yeah.
It's not her house.
But she lives in it.
And then she's got this flat down on the coast.
So she's got 3 properties?
Well, no, because one of them belongs to the taxpayer.
Well, she lives in 3 properties. She has access to 3 properties.
We expect our MPs to live in London and in their constituency.
And in Hove.
650 MPs do.
And by the way, Paul, in Admiralty House, where she lives, the Grace and Favour flat near Buckingham Palace, how much did she spend on 2 beds?
£7 grand.
£7,000.
£7 grand. And Mr. Richards said it's not her money. And in those 4 words, you perfectly encapsulated government, local council, public sector spending. That's why this country is in the trouble it's in, because people just like that think it's not my money. If those who ran the country, if those who ran councils dealt with the money that came into them and they spent it as if it were their own and they looked after every penny instead of being reckless and careless and wasteful, the economy wouldn't be what it is.
But we do up, say, Buckingham Palace with taxpayers' money, and whoever happens to be the King or the Queen gets to use that, but it belongs to the taxpayer.
OK.
And the same with these Grace and Favour, like Downing Street. You know, the Prime Minister doesn't own Downing Street.
All right, I'll go back to my question that I posed to you before we got bogged down in numbers. It was 3 properties she has access to where she can sleep. How many illegal migrants? Bearing in mind, it was Angela Rayner who last year said every borough of Britain should take their fair share of migrants. How many migrants has Angela Rayner taken and will she take, do you think?
Well, she wasn't saying that individuals have to take them into their own homes. She was saying they should be dispersed through the community to avoid the flashpoints of these hotels, which we're all agreed shouldn't be housing asylum.
And we are desperate for properties. Serco are giving 5 years rent up front.
I don't think the idea that we take one in our own homes.
Paul, we are so desperate for properties.
That's not what she said, is it?
Well, no, she said every borough. But my point is she has access to 3 properties. We are in such desperate need for properties that Serco are giving 5 years guaranteed rent to landlords. She has access to 3 properties. How many of her properties will be housing migrants? She's got 3 gaffs.
Well, that's silly, isn't it? She's not going to. She's not going to take them into her own home.
Why?
As a government minister.
Well, she can give one of her homes to house migrants for Serco.
Well, I remember actually.
Grant Shapps did. He took 2 refugees.
I remember. He did. I remember John Prescott. But
yeah, and how did that work out exactly?
Apparently, it was fine.
OK, let's look at the front page of the Sunday Telegraph. At the bottom there, Nigel Farage is going to the United States in the coming weeks. He's taking Lucy Connelly's case straight to Congress. He's going to be giving evidence on free speech and will be telling her story to key President Trump allies. He's expected to travel there on around September the 3rd and bring up the case of Miss Connelly, who, of course, was released this week from prison. Paul, your take on this?
Well, I think Farage is just emerging as Trump's lapdog, and I think it's embarrassing for this country that he's running off to Congress. And what the hell's it got to do with the US Congress, how the British judicial system works?
You might dislike him immensely, but he's pretty good at politics, isn't he, Mr. Farage? Yeah.
Well, he's leading in the polls.
Yeah.
Well, he's the country didn't.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good at politics.
He is, but I do think, and I think I mentioned.
How's Brexit working out?
He made the case for it, though. He made the case for it and won that vote.
He told us, there'd be less immigration as a result.
But he made the case and won that vote.
I'd like to make one point.
Linda?
I'd like to make one point, and I did touch upon this earlier. I think this is building up and building up and building up, and she is getting a vast profile here. And what I will say is, although I watched the whole interview and I think she's a tremendously credible interviewee, someone who's not used to the limelight in this way does have to be very, very careful, not least with their own mental well-being.
You're talking about Lucy Connelly?
Yeah, absolutely I am, because they just don't know. People who are not used to this do not understand the toll it can take.
I'm sure somebody is steering the ship.
Well, I've seen mistakes like this happen before, and it can have tragic consequences. And I agree with you, Peter, probably someone is advising her, but until you've been in the full glare of publicity, you don't know how painful it can be.
If Lucy was here tonight, what would your advice to her be?
I would say take a beat. Take a pause, sit tight, stay low, think about your strategy, because she does have a platform. She is someone that cares. She is a serious individual, and she does want to be a standard bearer. Pace yourself. That is what I would say to her.
I'd say rip the granny out of it and let me ghostwrite her book.
Self-serving? No.
I would say she's under licence and on probation. She needs to be very careful.
Very careful.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll comply with the conditions.
Which is precisely why she can't travel to the US to speak to politicians there, as Nigel Farage is doing.
What's it got to do with them, Ben? Seriously, what's it got to do with Congress? The United States Congress?
Well, because I'll tell you why. As somebody who's going to the US to launch a UK show for GB News...
As a migrant heading off to the States...
I've heard that already. I've heard... Paul, you're not original with that. I've heard that already.
Shame.
The difference being, I'm going to the US to work, I'll be paying taxes, and I won't be arriving on a dinghy and fleecing the US taxpayer for Wi-Fi, bus passes, Aspen cards and whatever else. So there is a vast difference. Why is it the concern of the US? Because I argue they are the only country in the world, the only ally, really, of Great Britain, who cares about the future of Great Britain. That's why. Donald Trump's mother was Scottish.
No, I don't think they care. I mean, Henry Kissinger...
Oh, I don't think they do. I think there is a lot of affection for Britain held by many prominent American politicians.
I've met individuals, but there's a great quote from Henry Kissinger who said, America doesn't have relationships, it just has interests.
Yes,
and that, I think, is the truth.
I'd argue in the case of President Trump, his mother was Scottish. He has a big affection for Great Britain. He says he does, I believe.
Most Americans couldn't point to Great Britain on a map.
That's very insulting to the Americans. Right, time now for the Great British Giveaway and your chance to win mortgage or rent-free for a year and grab £5 cash at the same time. Or if you don't have a mortgage or rent, you can get yourself 15k in your back pocket. It's all tax-free, of course. Here's the details you need to win.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you, we'll give you £15,000 tax-free cash instead. Hurry, lines close this Friday. for another chance to win. Text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Oh, maybe Angela Rayner could enter that and try and clear some of that big mortgage she's got on the Hove flat. Anyway, coming up, we'll be joined by the political editor of HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield, to offer his expert analysis of tomorrow's hottest stories. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11 only on GB News.
So I spent probably the best part of a year genning up on the world of self-publishing, making sure that I knew all the ropes, and then but I mean, hand on heart, I really thought when I first published it that I'd probably sell about 30 copies and continue my day job. So it was a shock when it started to sell as well as it did.
The day job was being a school teacher, but you had a background as a script writer, a screenwriter, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I spent a long time working in TV as a script editor, and then writing on series for the BBC and Holby and EastEnders and The Bell, and then thought I'd change tact, go and be a secondary school teacher for a while, and just, I suppose, write a book and see what happened. And that was 5 years ago, and sort of haven't looked back since.
Well, just before we get to that, had you tried to go the normal route through an agent to a publisher?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first port of call, having worked a little bit in the business, was to bang on the doors of publishers and agents. And I just got a lot of polite no's. And I guess then I came across an article about self-publishing and thought, well, this is probably my last chance. So why not publish it and see let the readers decide whether they want to read my books. And yeah, luckily for me, they did.
Tell me a little bit about the agent system. I mean, for regular publishing or physical books, you pretty much have to go through an agent, don't you? And they have somewhat limited capacity. Is that not so?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, you need a literary agent to represent you before you can even really knock on the door of a publisher with their help to try and get your book launched.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Joining me now is the political editor of the HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield, to go through some of the big stories on tomorrow's front pages. Kevin, good evening. Nice to see you. Let's start with one that's got me very excited indeed as a news hound. Angela Rayner, a third home in Hove, £800,000. I think she's got a mortgage on it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good scoop, isn't it? But I mean, as long as she can afford it and she's paying all the taxes and it's all done above board and that we're not subsidising it, then I don't see the problem. I mean, she may well face criticism, I guess, for being a champagne socialist or whatever.
Do you think she is?
Factor that in, and it'll be up to the voters ultimately to decide whether or not she's been a hypocrite. But as I say, I think as long as she can afford it, and it's all above board, and she's paid everything that she's due in terms of taxes, stamp duty, etc., then I don't really see the problem in it myself.
Kevin, do you think she's a champagne socialist?
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with a working class person, someone from a working class background like her, getting on in life and aspiring to be a homeowner. I think maybe that's what we should all aspire to, really. Speaking as someone from a working class background myself, I'm quite happy to be a homeowner. Unfortunately, I don't have 3 homes or even 2 homes, but if Angela Rayner can afford it, then fair play to her.
Yeah, I mean, the argument is, though, Kevin, that when Angela Rayner last year was saying every borough of the UK needs to take their fair share of migrants, and you've got 3 properties that you can sleep in, arguably you need 1, OK, maybe you need 2 in your constituency. 3 is probably pushing it a bit. Why isn't she taking one of those properties and putting migrants in them if every borough and every person of the UK should be doing their part to sort this migrant situation out?
I mean, my understanding of what she said was that she was talking about the areas themselves should take migrants dispersed around the country. I think that's fair enough. I don't think she was talking about individuals having to find...
Well, somebody is giving up their homes to house these people in HMOs, no? So why not lead by example?
I imagine those will be privately owned properties, probably lying empty, I would have thought, which will then be made available for migrants, asylum seekers, perhaps. I don't think she was meaning that individuals, homeowners, should provide accommodation in the home that they live in for migrants or asylum seekers. I don't think anyway. My understanding of what she said anyway. I don't think that was what
I don't know. I just think she should probably lead by example. Instead of being a champagne socialist and buying a 3rd property for £800,000, maybe she should use that property and put some migrants in. I don't know. I think she should lead by example. Maybe just me though. And also, by the way, just before we move on, Kevin, people are being kicked out of their homes to house asylum seekers in these HMOs. I went to Bolton, maybe was it last week now? An English young mum, single mum, 2 young kids, booted out her house by the landlord because Serco came knocking and wanted to carve up her house that she lived in with her kids to put migrants in, and that's what they did. She was turfed out. Let's look at the front page of the Sunday Telegraph, Kevin. Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, heading for an IMF bailout. Bit of a headache, no, for the Chancellor, Labour government?
Oh, undoubtedly. I mean, there's no doubt that she faces an absolute nightmare come the autumn in the budget. Now, I spoke to someone in Number 10 a couple of weeks ago, and I said, look, is she still going to stick to this promise that Labour made before the election? The easiest way, really, to raise money would be put up income tax by a penny on the pound, perhaps, put up VAT, national insurance, but they say they're sticking to that, and she's boxed herself in. So it means that she's going to have to find taxes from elsewhere. She's going to have to find spending cuts from elsewhere. And the problem that she's got is obviously the budget last year, I think, put up taxes by something like £40 billion. And we were told at the time it was a once-in-a-parliament budget. They wouldn't have to do that again. They were doing it to get the budget back in balance after the Tories left it in a mess, etc., etc. If she has to do it again, just 12 months down the line, then that's a massive, massive political headache.
Paul Richards is here. He wants to have a quick chat with you. Paul, any questions for Kevin?
Hi, Kevin. I mean, I just wondered if you'd comment on the story about stagflation and 70s-style IMF bailouts, because it's the whole story seems to be stood up by one economist, and you and I know that I could probably find another economist who completely disagrees with that. So how much veracity do you place on that particular story?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Sunday Telegraph and the Telegraph stable has got an axe to grind. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I've not heard it from anyone else, put it that way, Paul, that they're going to have to do a Dennis Healy style go and ask for money from the IMF. That being said, there is problems in the public finances. That's undeniable. The economy's not growing anywhere near as much as the government would like or as much as the government promised. And they're going to have to find money from somewhere. Debt interest payments for the government have soared in recent months as well. So they're spending a lot more than they expected. The economy's not grown as much as they'd hoped. So they're going to have to find the money from somewhere. I don't think we're quite at IMF bailout levels yet, but it's certainly not great.
Peter?
Kevin, I've heard these rumblings for some weeks now, with a timescale that perhaps before the end of the year such a bailout might be required. If we do have to go cap in hand to the IMF, what are the longer-term consequences of that?
Well, in terms of the politics of it, it would just look horrendous. I mean, the Conservatives dined out on that for decades, what Labour had to do in the 1970s. So, I mean, if Labour had to do it again 50 years later, then I think politically they would be absolutely sunk. I mean, we look what Black Wednesday did to John Major's government back in the 1990s. You know, that dogged them for years and years and years. This would be exactly the same. So I think that would be a complete disaster as far as this government were concerned.
Linda?
So, Kevin, I've heard it said by some financial analysts and economists that we could be edging towards a recession by the fourth quarter of this year. How likely is that?
I mean, I don't think you can rule it out. The economy grew slightly better than expected in the last quarter, but it's still bumping along about 0.3%, which was down from the first quarter of the year, which was 0.7%. So it's not heading in the right direction, although we're not quite at recession levels yet. I don't think we can rule it out, put it that way. And if that were to happen, then again, that would be politically very bad for a government which came in saying that economic growth was its #1 priority. And yet here we are a year down the line and it's still not looking great. I don't think we're quite at recession levels yet, but were that to happen, then that would be very, very bad news indeed.
Should we look at the front page of the Sunday Times briefly? The main story is Sir Keir Starmer to curb judges' powers in asylum cases. As protests over use of migrant hotels grow, the PM overhauls appeal system to cut the backlog. This goes hand in hand, Kevin, with a big story from, yesterday afternoon. Reform UK on Tuesday announcing their big mass deportations plan, detention centres, booting them out to the likes of Ascension Island, third countries and so on. How does Labour respond to reform on this?
Well, this story just proves again that Labour are on the back foot on this issue. This is the government, I think, just sort of flailing around, really looking to find ways of bringing down the number of asylum seekers in this country. The idea here would be that they would speed up the appeals process. At the moment, the average appeal lasts about a year. Now, that's a year that the people involved have to be accommodated, they have to be put in hotels or HMOs or wherever. And the government are now under obviously massive political pressure. We saw new data at the tail end of last week showing that the record numbers of asylum applications in this country. Now, they're looking at obviously reform leading in the polls, eye-catching announcement by Nigel Farage, I guess you would have to admit, in the Times this morning. And this is the government trying to respond to it. But it does, on the face of it, look like pretty small beer. And I think they're probably going to have to come up with some more radical solutions, I think, if they're going to get on top of this problem.
Kevin, this is the perfect example of this government not really getting to grips and not really being fully motivated to tackle this migration problem. Because if they were, they'd have done this a year ago. They'd have announced it, wouldn't they?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that this issue has just exploded in recent months. I think it's something that's taken the government probably by surprise. The main sort of nub of the problem, obviously, is that stopping the boats coming across the channel. Now, we had Rishi Sunak talked about stopping the boats. That didn't work. We've heard Keir Starmer obviously talking about smashing the gangs. Thus far, that hasn't worked. It all stems from stopping the boats coming across. Now, the government are insisting that they can do that, but it's going to take time. The problem they've got is that they don't really have a lot of time, not least because, as I said earlier, Reform are leading in the opinion polls. People are looking for answers and solutions to this issue very quickly indeed. I don't think it's the type of thing. I'm not entirely convinced by Nigel Farage's plan either. I think sometimes simplistic answers to complicated problems aren't really convincing. That being said, though, politically, there's no doubt at all that Labour are under huge pressure, and if they don't get on top of it, then they will pay the price come the next election.
Okay. In other words, it's a knee-jerk reaction of an unprincipled government being blown about by the political wind.
All right, on that bombshell, Kevin, thank you very much. Kevin Schofield, political editor of the HuffPost UK. Kevin Schofield, thanks, Kevin. Enjoy your weekend. More front pages coming up after the break, including Kemi Badenoch has spoken out, saying there are racists who say I reached the top only because I'm black. Elsewhere, plastic bag use has risen for the first time since the 5p charge. I got a plastic bag the other day from I won't name the supermarket. It cost me 20p.
I know.
What an absolute...
It's online deliveries, though. They put too few items in too many bags. Take it from me, it happens to me on a weekly basis.
What a scam. Britain is broken. Back in just a tick on Ben Leo Tonight.
Hello there, welcome to your latest weather forecast from the Met Office, and high pressure continues to dominate our weather pattern at the moment. Tonight it'll be mostly dry with some clear spells, but also a little bit of rain across the far northwest of the UK. Weather fronts nearby here, but high pressure generally holding on through the rest of the weekend into Bank Holiday Monday as well. It's been fairly cloudy across the UK today. It remains so this evening and overnight, but the cloud will break up at times to allow some clear spells. We could see some mist and fog patches developing across parts of England and Wales. A weather front will give some rain across Northern Ireland into Western Scotland. Temperatures for most will remain in double figures. Could be a little chilly first thing across southwestern parts of the UK, but here any mist and fog patches soon clearing away. Across northern Scotland, we've got a west-east split with the weather to start the day. Outbreaks of rain down the western side of Scotland. Some of this could be heavy at times, but sunshine in the east. Northern Ireland, largely cloudy to start tomorrow morning, but should be largely dry here. And then across England and Wales, some mist and fog patches. Some low cloud in places, perhaps thick enough for a little bit of light rain and drizzle, particularly along some eastern coasts. As we head through the day, it should be largely dry. There should be more in the way of sunny spells across England and Wales. The cloud will come and go at times, and Northern Ireland also brightening up with some sunny spells here. This weather front just lingers across western parts of Scotland, only pushing slowly further north and eastwards, but the rain's starting to ease on it. Temperature-wise, a little higher compared to today, reaching the mid-20s in places, so feeling a little warmer, particularly in that sunshine. And then for Bank Holiday Monday, southerly winds will draw in some warmer air. We should see more in the way of sunshine, particularly across central eastern areas. Cloud eventually picking up across the far west later on in the day, and temperatures well above average, 27, 28 Celsius, ahead of some cooler, wetter and windier weather starting to move in later on in the week. See you soon.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewbs, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Let's have a look at some more front pages, starting with the Sunday Mirror that's out tomorrow. The headline reads, Princess Diana dragged into Epstein's scandal. Ghislaine Maxwell claims the princess set up a date with the pedo, Jeffrey Epstein, and she denies introducing Prince Andrew to Epstein as well. And a little EastEnders exclusive here. If you're into your soaps, I had a stroke and I had to learn to walk again. That's EastEnders Cheryl. The Observer. Bit of a strange front page. It's three sort of headlines in one. It says, after Epping, John Simpson outside the Bell Hotel. Somebody else saying the fear is back, and somebody else saying Farage is linked to some money somewhere. So that's the Observer. Very good. The Sunday Times, we've just briefly touched on this with Kevin Schofield. So Keir Starmer to curb judges' powers in asylum cases. Kemi Badenoch says there are racists who say I reached the top only because I'm black. And plastic bag use in supermarkets has risen for the first time since the 5p charge. Right, I would like to share a clip with you from one Lewis Goodall, who I would argue is a raging communist, and this proves why. Take a look.
I wouldn't be opposed to 100% inheritance tax. Or maybe, let's say, 99%. You know, my rule might be that if you can put it in 2p bags, then you can hand it over. That's fine. 99, 95%. I'm being provocative, but you see what I mean. I would not be against a far higher rate of inheritance tax than we have at the moment. You don't have a right to inherit. You should have a right to work while you're alive and keep more of your own money. That, to me, is more important, way more important, than your right to just inherit some money from mummy and daddy that you did nothing to earn.
The jealous communists are at the door and we should all be wary. Peter Blexley, 100% inheritance tax. I think it's revolting.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching the advert as to why you should never, ever listen to LBC Radio.
Yeah. GB News always a better option. Paul, what's your take?
That's your contract.
100% inheritance tax.
Well, it's nonsense, isn't it? I don't actually know who Lewis Goodall is, I'm afraid.
I do.
But I don't think you should be taxing inheritance at 100%.
Yeah, I don't think there should be any inheritance tax at all.
No.
Well, why would you tax people twice when they've spent their life earning money, trying to buy property that they intend leaving to their children, and then you tax them when they do exactly that? What was it Tony Blair said? Oh, I remember. I want to see wealth trickling down through the generations.
Yeah, I think inheritance tax, by its very nature, is a pretty sinister policy. You've got, as you said, you've had parents who have grafted hard all their life. They've been taxed on their income to buy a property. They're paying council tax during the lifetime of owning that property and all sorts of other stuff, which people would say, oh, yeah, but you get your bins collected. I mean, council tax now isn't worth the money you pay for it. And then when you happen to die and you're grafting for your children all this time, you want to pass your assets on to your child because that's the very reason, in fact, as a parent, it's the only reason you bother going to work anymore, because you want to provide for your children. And then the grubby state, the legalised mafia comes along and says, thank you very much, I'll have 40% of that over whatever the threshold is now.
When you think about it, that inheritance tax for some children, it might be their only way of actually getting onto the property ladder in this day and age.
So why, Linda, do people like Lewis Goodall, I'm sure he's a very nice chap personally, but I think his politics, as I said, I think inheritance tax is disgusting. Why does he want the state, the government, to have 100% of a dead person's assets?
Well, I can't understand it.
Any ideas?
Doesn't make any...
Well, because he's possibly unhinged.
Right.
Paul, that's all I can think of.
What's your idea or ideal rate for inheritance tax?
That's above my pay grade. I think there should be some inheritance tax. I think that's reasonable, but it shouldn't be to the point where I don't think the state should be just then completely taking people's homes off them.
Yeah, but why should you pay tax twice?
I think there should be just some balance.
So what's your rate? Come on.
I don't have a rate. I'm not going to fall into that trap,
rate. You're the Chancellor. You've just been crowned Chancellor. You're into number 11.
Well, that's not going to happen, is it? But, you know, I was a beneficiary of this. I inherited property from my parents, you know, and they'd worked really hard for that and they wanted to pass it on. And I think that's aspirational. I think that's reasonable.
Did you pay inheritance tax?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the rate? 40% over?
Must have been whatever it was at the time.
325.
Yeah. So, you know,
how did you feel paying that tax? Did you think that you were happy to pay it?
I'm unusual, aren't I? Because I think taxation is our subscription to a civilised society.
I think it's theft.
Yeah,
I think
that's the ideological
debate,
debate, isn't it?
Twice.
That's the different, you know, attitudes towards taxation, isn't it?
I think more people, especially the billionaires, the top 1%, would be happy to pay their fair share of tax if they saw that the tax was going towards decent projects, not £11 billion on carbon capture, £6 million a day on asylum hotels, £11 billion on climate projects in Ghana and Africa, and so on, Peter.
Yeah, I'd like to have less potholes, more properly vetted, recruited and trained police officers. I'd like to see zero illegal migration into this country. I'd just like everything to work. I mean, call me old-fashioned. I'd like it to work properly.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be lovely? We'd all be a lot happier instead of there being so many people out there who are just grumpy, unfortunately.
I mean, I agree with that. Everything should work, but you can't do that with a low tax base.
Yeah. OK, let's look at the front page of the Sunday Express. Border Force are under fire. Border farce is the headline because apparently swathes of Border Force staff have pocketed huge pay rises and bonuses despite Britain's migrant crisis spiralling out of control. So the Express says that some mandarins saw their salaries rise by as much as 24% last year. Unbelievable. 24%, while some raked in a £15,000 bonus. That's, of course, whilst small boat migrants... 50,000 small boat arrivals in the last year since Labour took power, up on the year before. Peter Blexley?
Yeah, and Martin Hewitt, right, who is head of the Border Force Command, do you remember when he got announced? All that big shenanigans? Here he is. He's the man. He'll solve it all. He'll stop the illegals coming. Mr. Hewitt is on 200 grand a year.
Wow.
That is astonishing. Talk about failing upwards and rewarding failure. There's the perfect example of it.
And look at some of the leaders of local authorities as well. They've got enormous salaries.
Yeah.
Why do we reward failure, Paul?
I've no idea.
I think there's a system within the civil service that does give these automatic awards, and I think it should be looked at, because I don't think there should be reward for failure. It should be based on performance, shouldn't it? As it is in the private sector, and I think there's something around this that should raise bigger questions around this, because it does stink.
Yeah, of course, a record 111,000 people claimed asylum in the year to June as well. I mean, is that Border Force's problem? I suppose it is if they're coming by a small boat. Of course it is.
Yeah.
£15,000 bonuses, 24% pay rises. I mean, only in the government or local government would you see that kind of absolute absurdity.
Breathtaking. It's astonishing.
Right, OK, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll say. Some comments coming in on inheritance tax. Lynn, good evening. You said inheritance tax is tantamount to a scammer taking your money. I agree. I think inheritance tax is vile. I think it's one of the worst taxes ever. And as I said, on that particular issue anyway, I think it's legalised mafia. The government coming along like vultures. Imagine, your loved one's just died. In comes the government, the state, which doesn't care about spending your money. Look at Angela Rayner, 7 grand on 2 beds at Admiralty House.
I don't have to imagine it. Our family's just paid it.
Well, there we go. The state coming in like vultures, the wings flapping, circling and squawking, saying, thank you very much, I'll have some of that. Elsewhere, somebody else said, Rob, I think Border Force should go on strike. And I
thought they were.
Apparently they are, yeah. If you have to look at the small boat arrivals. Richard has said families could keep their homes if leeches in government and the civil service weren't lining their pockets to buy extra homes for £800,000.
But let's just remember, many people don't have anything left because they've spent it all on care home fees.
Right, exactly. Yeah, precisely. Right, coming up, we'll reveal our big weekend fails, including...
Farul Constanța va întâlni.
If you're into your football, you know all about the hot ball, cold ball scam. More on that in just a tick.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's a bit of a mixed bag across Europe as we go through the next few days. There is some rain pushing into parts of Portugal, also affecting southwestern Spain as we go into tomorrow, but most of Spain actually having a largely fine day. A few showery outbreaks affecting parts of Italy, Greece and maybe Turkey too, but these won't be as heavy nor as thundery as we've seen recently. And then through into next week, whilst most places will stay largely fine, across some areas, France, Germany for example, the risk of some heavy thundery downpour.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Thank you, Sam. Now from one Iceman to another, because British ultramarathon swimmer Ross Edgley is currently undertaking an astonishing 1,000-mile swim around Iceland after being inspired by the Thor character and the actor Chris Hemsworth. Well, this challenge, described as the Great Icelandic Swim, is expected to take about 3 months. And it's seen Ross swim already for 6 hours and then rest for 6 hours in a continuous cycle of torture. Now, along the way, he has faced challenging conditions, including rough waters, killer whales and freezing temperatures. I'm delighted to say I'm now joined by the Iceman, the British Thor, Ross Edgley, live from Iceland. Ross, it's an absolute delight to have you, and I'm just delighted to get a connection to Iceland. Sometimes we struggle to get people here in London. Listen, mate, you sound like an absolute man-mountain. What on earth drove you towards this epic challenge?
Oh, thanks, Martin. Yeah, it was, like I said, I was joking with Chris because I just love Icelandic folklore, the sagas, mythology. And we just said, look, swimming around Iceland, it'd be the closest thing to Asgard that you could possibly do. So it was kind of, it started as a semi-joke. And then 3 months later, here we are, 800 miles in, lost parts of my tongue, a lot of chafing around my shoulders and stuff. But we were still going, 200 miles left, home straight is in sight.
So we're doing it for charity? What's behind it?
It's exactly that, Martin. Yeah, so all the way we're going around, we're working with scientists to collect eDNA samples, so they're environmental DNA samples. So it just means that anything in the water, whether it's a minke whale, an orca, a Ross Edgley, anything, it leaves behind a sample. And so by collecting all of these samples, what we're going to be left with is this incredible map of biodiversity around Iceland in a level of detail we've never seen before. So what's amazing, scientists said, look, if someone is crazy enough to try and swim around it, this could be really valuable for us.
GB News.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camila Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camila Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Time now for our big weekend fails. And if you're new to the show, this is the part of the evening where we pick one moment from the week which we think was an epic fail and we discuss it. This is my selection.
Farul Constanța va întâlni Corbynul Hunedoara.
Right, so if you're a football fan, you'll know what that is. It's a cup draw. The guy's got his hand in the bowl. He's trying to find, you know, it should be a legitimate, just pick out a ball, and that's your team. Peter, you'll know about this. They've been accused of basically rigging the draw because, as you can see from that clip there, the guy, let's have another look. He absolutely makes no attempts whatsoever to pick any random ball. He's got hold of one. Look at his hand on the right-hand side of your screen, his left hand. Look at that, what a joke. Peter, your thoughts?
After the day my team's had, I do not want to talk about football in any way, shape or form. Thank you.
What was the QPR score?
Coventry City 7, Queen's Park Rangers 1.
7-0?
Thanks for 7-1.
7-1, well, at least you got one.
Yeah, great consolation that was. I'm so enthusiastic about next week.
Oh, well, in other news, Arsenal won 5-0, I think, so...
Very good.
Linda, this is yours. Talk us through this.
Well, this is Birmingham City Council, who don't collect the bins, don't fill in the potholes. But look here, they do clean up the England flag off this roundabout. Really astonishing.
Wasn't it a Reform councillor who complained about this? There was a story doing the rounds a few days ago that a Reform councillor complained. Maybe it's a different area. There was a Reform councillor complains that somebody had taken a roundabout such as this and put the flag everywhere. I was driving down the M25 today, and every single gantry I passed, all the junctions had a St George's flag, Union flag all around it. So this sort of flag-raising campaign.
There's clearly nothing wrong with it. So,
lovely.
Yeah, I like it.
It's joyous.
Marlow, where I live, we've got bunting all the way across the street. Red, white and blue, red, white and blue, red, white and blue, all the way down the street.
Linda, that sounds pretty racist to me. I think the Home Office will be knocking at your door tonight, probably.
Pride in the flag. Why not?
Peter, yeah, you're going to get referred to prevent, Linda, if you carry on like that. Peter, this is yours. What's going on here?
Yeah, Yvette Cooper, Home Secretary, the Bell Hotel and her failed court case. Epic fail. What a bunch of clowns.
How do you think they go from here, the government, with regards to these hotels?
She's appealing it, apparently.
Yeah.
Just goes to show she really is an enemy of the people, going against the public will.
Paul?
Well, mine is this split between Corbyn and Zara Sultana. This is you'll remember, the left-wing party that they're trying to start up. They haven't got a name yet, but they've already got the first split.
I think we've got a clip. Let's take a look. Oh, 2 secs, here it comes.
Zara Sultana did a recent interview where she said that the Labour Party under your leadership was wrong to have adopted the controversial IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. And she said the smears won't work anymore and that she's proudly an anti-Zionist. What do you think about all that?
Well, I think it wasn't really necessary for her to bring all that up in the interview, but that's what she decided to do.
Well, yeah.
Two of them in a room, you get three factions, you know.
Yeah, well, I, for one, am quite pleased about Corbyn's new party because they seem to be, according to polls, splitting the Labour vote.
Well, they're going to be splitting their own vote. They're going to be all over the place because they can't agree. That story was about how hard we should be on the Jews. That's what that was about. She was saying he wasn't hard enough on them. So the anti-Semites have gone into the party. They disagree on everything. It's going to be blood all over the carpet.
And he was using a disposable cup. Where's his green credentials?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, Peter's...
Just before I go, if I may.
Yes.
Ben, thank you. It's been a great joy appearing on your show. I wish you all the very best for your new venture across the Atlantic. And I've just brought you a little gift.
Yes.
And I hope you get to wear that at some point.
Yeehaw! Thank you, Peter. Look at that.
Yeah, look.
What camera are we looking? It's a... you love your ties, don't you? 3. Where's 3?
I do.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer. Here we go.
There you go. Wear it as you go through immigration.
Thank you.
They'll wave you in.
just to make clear to everybody, I'm not, of course, leaving GB News. I'll be on GB News more than ever before, dialing in from Washington all throughout the day, wherever the stories are. We've got a great show for UK audiences being broadcast at midnight till 2 a.m. here, so 7 days a week, me and Bev. And I've had some messages saying, oh, Ben, shame you're leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm going to be on your screens more than before, to the dismay of maybe 1 or 2 of you. But I'll be here, even throughout the day, the morning schedule, the daytime schedule. I'll be beaming in live from DC. So I think, Paul, as I keep arguing, I think the direction of travel for the UK will be heavily influenced by the US in the coming years, whether you think that's a good thing or not.
I think the big story you'll be covering is the demise of Trump and taking over of J.D. Vance. That's what we're going to be looking for.
Do you think he'll be president in 28?
I think he'll be before then. Before then.
And who will run against him? Newsom? Gavin Newsom?
Maybe, but I think he'll be in before ere long. That'll be the story you're covering, I suspect.
Yeah.
The important thing is, Ben, you'll be the right man in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, and it's an exciting time for GB News. For GB News viewers, you're going to be getting more action stateside. It's all going to be linked to the UK as well, so I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be on your screens more than ever before, and you're going to be loving it, I'm sure. Guys, thank you. Stick around for Ben Leo tonight, late edition. I'll see if I can stick this tie on in time for the break. So come back after the break, and you'll see me sporting a new tie. See you in a sec.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest weather forecast from the Met Office, and high pressure continues to dominate our weather pattern at the moment. Tonight it'll be mostly dry with some clear spells, but also a little bit of rain across the far northwest of the UK. Weather fronts nearby here, but high pressure generally holding on through the rest of the weekend into Bank Holiday Monday as well. It's been fairly cloudy across the UK today. It remains so this evening and overnight, but the cloud will break up at times to allow some clear spells. We could see some mist and fog patches developing across parts of England and Wales. A weather front will give some rain across Northern Ireland into western Scotland. Temperatures for most will remain in double figures. Could be a little chilly first thing across southwestern parts of the UK, but here any mist and fog patches soon clearing away. Across northern Scotland, we've got a west-east split with the weather to start the day. Outbreaks of rain down the western side of Scotland. Some of this could be heavy at times, but sunshine in the east. Northern Ireland, largely cloudy to start tomorrow morning, but should be largely dry here. And then across England and Wales, some mist and fog patches. Some low cloud in places, perhaps thick enough for a little bit of light rain and drizzle, particularly along some eastern coasts. As we head through the day, it should be largely dry. There should be more in the way of sunny spells across England and Wales. The cloud will come and go at times, and Northern Ireland also brightening up with some sunny spells here. This weather front just lingers across western parts of Scotland, only pushing slowly further north and eastwards, but the rain's starting to ease on it. Temperature-wise, a little higher compared to today, reaching the mid-20s in places, so feeling a little warmer, particularly in that sunshine. And then for Bank Holiday Monday, southerly winds will draw in some warmer air. We should see more in the way of sunshine, particularly across central eastern areas. Cloud eventually picking up across the far west later on in the day, and temperatures well above average, 27, 28 Celsius, ahead of some cooler, wetter and windier weather starting to move in later on in the week. See you soon.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom,